Did anyone wake up this morning and immediately go back to Twitter just to make sure last night actually happened? Because I did. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. My voice is hoarse for some reason. Didn't even really scream last night, did I? I don't remember. In today's video, we're going to do a little recap of what happened at the Oscars. You saw my reactions. You saw the chaos that ensued during the ceremony. We're not only talking about that moment itself between the fish from Shark Tale and the zebra from Madagascar. We're going to talk about the actual awards. Also, I'm wearing a toboggan because our heater's broke. My basement's really cold right now, so a little chilly. A couple of things I want to reflect on, but this is nothing without you all in the comments down below, leaving your thoughts of just how you woke up this morning, how you felt about everything that went down last night. Please be sure to get in that comment section. And of course, if you like something like this, simpler, just talking about the event itself, drop that thumbs up. The algorithm appreciates it, as do I. All right, let's get into it. Also want to say thanks to Odds Checker for sponsoring all of my videos this weekend. Going to leave the links down below one more time if you want to reflect on some of the articles, help out the channel. But man, this was a crazy, crazy year, all the way up to the Oscars, because I expected it to be a series of events or a series of results that blew me away, made me freak out all throughout the ceremony. Oh my gosh, we thought this movie was going to win it, and this movie won it. But instead of that happening, it ended up going about the way we all expected it to go. And again, I went 18 for 20 with my predictions, did not predict the shorts. But the two movies that I got wrong, and I stated this in my predictions video, were both really bold, outlandish predictions. My Flea for Best Documentary was basically me saying, well, I have to do something weird this year, so this is going to be my weird choice. Didn't happen. I should have played it safe. That's kind of my first piece of information that I gathered from last night's ceremony. Just go with your gut, man. Every single year, I either go slightly against one or two of my gut choices, and I'm always sitting there regretting it after it's over. And with most of these selections this year, I went with my gut. CODA for screenplay, Chastain for Best Actress, even though everybody, not everybody, a lot of people were telling me to do the opposite. A lot of people were saying Penelope Cruz. Austin, how could you not go with Penelope Cruz? And I'll admit, those articles came out after I recorded that video. But even then, I stuck with Chastain just because I was going with some of the numbers, but I was going with my gut. And CODA was purely a gut call. Yes, it got PGA. Yes, it got that recent WGA win, but the tide shifted so quick. It really was a lot of people saying, well, the movie's wonderful, heartwarming, all of this stuff. Let's root for it for Best Picture. And I know a lot of people were rooting for Power of the Dog, okay? Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. But even then, everything said, go with Power of the Dog. If you want to be right, statistically, the Power of the Dog is probably going to win. And it won 1 Oscar. CODA won 3 Oscars. Guess how many it was nominated for? 3 Oscars. All right, how many times do you see a movie take home Best Picture when it barely gets any other nominations, okay? It takes home every award it's nominated for, but it's only nominated for 3, and it's a film that didn't really get anything on a technical level, anything on a directing level. People were saying, well, Dune has no shot because it didn't get Best Director. I mean, CODA didn't get nominated for Best Director. Granted, it won Screenplay, but even then, The Power of the Dog had so many more nominations. All of the other films, it felt like, I know it's not the case, had more nominations than CODA, but CODA was just such a beloved movie that people were continuing to vote for it in the categories it was nominated for. And this was a recent surge. It was a recent push. CODA came through at the end of the day. It's such a different result than what should have happened according on the statistics. It's crazy that we got CODA winning Best Picture. And there's still that group of people that see it as a Green Book. I've seen the comments. I've had plenty in my videos the last couple of days. It's just another Green Book. I disagree. I think CODA is a very well-made movie. Yes, it's a lower budget. Yes, it's a Sundance film, and it's not as strategically put together and cohesive as The Power of the Dog, but it makes you feel good. It made me feel good when I watched it, and that's the kind of movie that I think we all need right now, and that's one of the reasons why I was pushing for it so hard to win Best Picture. and I was rooting for it the entire way. I knew Dune didn't really have a shot, even though that was my favorite of the bunch. So I said, what's the other movie that has a shot? Well, that's CODA. That's the one I was rooting for. Not that I didn't appreciate the strategery behind The Power of the Dog, because I did. But I was going with my heart. I even think back to when Parasite won, and even though 1917 was my favorite movie of that year, it was very close between the two, my gut said Parasite. My gut said Parasite's going to win. So that's kind of like my thing I'm taking into next year's Oscars. Go with your gut. Whatever statistics say, like if it's leaning in that direction, yes, but it wasn't. It was going so much more towards CODA over the past couple of weeks. Go with your gut. And CODA takes it home. Same thing with Chastain. We heard Cruz. You know, my heart wanted Kristen Stewart to win. Knew she didn't really have a chance. But Chastain had that slight edge. She also had that momentum going into the night. It's the same thing I can say for Belfast. Belfast had the momentum in screenplay because Licorice Pizza was getting torn down all over Twitter. And this isn't even me speaking on my personal thoughts on the film, but everybody was bringing up issues with the screenplay for Licorice Pizza, like the morality of it all. And so I think that, actually, you know what? I know that had an impact on it. Whatever edge one of these movies was going to give it the win. And that was the edge for Belfast. 100% was that controversy behind Licorice Pizza, because it was looking like Licorice Pizza for a long time there. Don't Look Up, I guess, technically had a shot. You know, again, it was my least favorite movie of the bunch. I'm glad it didn't really win for anything, but there was a chance. Regardless, I went with what I thought had the momentum going into the night, and that was Belfast. I think my big miss was production design. I went with Nightmare Alley just because that's one where I did kind of go with, okay, you know, Nightmare Alley, production design, been nominated a bunch of times. It's recently been winning for production design, but Dune, I expected it to sweep all of the technical awards, and it did, but part of me wanted to put an upset somewhere. But again, guys, it's like everything went according to plan the entire night. Especially documentary, which I try to go against the grain on, but Summer of Soul, that was the easy choice. This was an award ceremony that went entirely the way we thought it was going to go up until that Best Documentary category when Chris Rock got up on stage and said something that I think he regrets saying now. I'm still in shock, man. I had guests over. We were all looking at each other, and you saw the video yesterday. Funny thing is, I wasn't actually recording. I was hitting record as Will Smith was going up to slap Chris Rock. So when I hit record, that's the portion that you see in the video. So you just kind of see my face going, what was that a bit? That wasn't funny. Was it funny? Also, let's talk about the form. A little shaky on the foot placement. Wasn't entirely getting his hips into it. I thought maybe we'd have... This is too much. Did Chris Rock write that, or did somebody else write it for him? I'm thinking Chris Rock wrote it. I'm pretty sure they write their jokes themselves. I was trying to figure that out though as I was doing my video. I'm like, did Chris? I guess Chris Rock wrote it. Otherwise, he'd go slap the writer in the back. Okay, I've officially talked to everyone now. My parents called me. They were like, "What in the world just happened?" Because they just saw the video, and then they saw my video, not knowing that the live reaction came from just muted out footage, right? Because when we were watching live, you couldn't tell what was going on. We saw the slap. We saw a bunch of different camera angles. It's not until after it was over, when people were putting out the uncensored versions, you heard what Will Smith said. And for me, though, it was the look on Chris Rock's face. It was the, I'm sorry, wait, what? I'm sorry, what just happened? And that was what made me sit back and go, and we didn't know all the circumstances. No one knew the circumstances. I had someone comment and say, "You don't remember Chris Rock making a joke in 2016? No. Why would I remember that? I edit these videos during the Oscar. I don't watch anything but the awards, especially last night with the hosts. Listen, there were some funnier jokes than I expected, I'll be honest with you. But like when Amy Schumer comes back in and she's pulling Kirsten Dunst to the side and talking to Jesse Plemons, I'm like, now's not the time, Amy. I get you had all of this stuff prepared in advance, but now's not the time for that. Like, especially that. When you look at Jesse Plemons' face, just like, yep. I've always been a big Wanda Sykes fan, though, so it's like whenever she's on stage. Now, Amy Schumer, I liked Trainwreck I think we were all Lupita Nyong'o last night. Just looking at her face while everything was happening, she goes from, oh, is this funny? No, he's being dead serious. No, he is absolutely 100% not joking. Like, she is, first of all, she's just the sweetest. And then seeing her face and how she was reacting to it all was my face as I was watching the uncensored version. So I go from, oh. But then it comes down to, well, you have to pick a side, right? You can either be on Will Smith's or Chris Rock's. You can't have one series of rational thoughts to where you are trying to debate in your mind what actually happened and thinking to yourself whether or not it was warranted or justified. No, Twitter says pick a side. If I don't pick a side, Twitter's going to be mad. Okay? No, that's dumb. Don't listen to those people. Now, you can be on one side or the other, but you don't have to pick a side. You can think rationally about it. And that's what we were trying to do as we were discussing last night. It's like, yes, the joke was in very bad taste after knowing the circumstances, because we did not know the circumstances at first. I had to do a bit of Twitter research. So I talk bad about Twitter and then I use it to research things.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Because I didn't get the joke. I'd never seen that movie. I had no clue what he was referring to. I was sitting here like, oh, that wasn't very funny. But for the reasons of, I just didn't understand the joke. But seeing what she actually has to deal with, Jada Pinkett Smith, yeah, it was in very bad taste. Absolutely. Does that justify or warrant Will Smith getting up on stage in front of how many people watching? Maybe not at that point, but they definitely tuned in after it happened. And doing what he did. No, that does not justify that. No, it doesn't. You can try to rationalize that as much as you want. If you want to rationalize it as there's a time and a place, maybe after the ceremony's over, that happens. It still wouldn't be right technically, but at least you're not giving all of these kids who are watching. I don't know any kids that were watching the Oscars. No kids watch the Oscars, but if there were kids watching, seeing, an icon, a guy that maybe a lot of people look up to in Will Smith going up and choosing violence as the answer, I don't think that's warranted. I really don't. Handle it in a different way. If he wanted to sit down and call him out and scream at him, I could have gotten behind that much more so. And to see Chris Rock handle it in the way that he did. And this is not me saying I agree with the joke, because I don't agree with the joke. Absolutely not. But I didn't agree with 5 of Amy Schumer's dumb jokes last night. So, you see where I'm coming from, right? I thought the Kirsten Dunst thing was dumb. That was stupid. It was stupid. But just talking about how Chris Rock handled himself and continued on kind of looking off stage like, should I keep going? I guess I'll keep going. That was very impressive to show the ability to continue on with the show like he did. But then seeing his facial expressions is another thing for me that clicked and oh, that was real. Because look at his face. It looked like he could have broken down in tears, because that probably didn't feel good. All right? Probably didn't feel good. So for me, it's just the whole situation was crazy. Both sides, for me, were like, oh my God, I just can't believe it happened. I can't believe it happened. I can't believe the joke went the way that it did. I can't believe Will Smith reacted the way that he did. And then we get the Best Actor speech where some of the things he said, there was passion behind. And some of the things he said, I was like, okay, yeah, this is getting me kind of you can tell he's really emotional right now. You can tell he's very choked up. But I also expected him to say a little bit more on the subject and to approach it in maybe a different way than he did overall, even though some of the things he said I was on board with. But, you can't really prepare a new speech for that moment now that that's happened. So, gosh, there's just so much that goes into the moment that I'm sure you've talked about 1,000 times prior to watching this video. But this was just my way of kind of rationalizing it. Well, there's no way of rationalizing it. Putting it together in my head saying, I can't believe it happened. No matter if you completely agree with Will Smith or you completely agree with Chris Rock, doesn't matter. I think we can all gather together and say, did that just happen? Is this real life? One thing's for sure, people are probably going to tune into next year's Oscars, and it's probably going to disappoint. I remember the whole Moonlight fiasco, and then the next year's Oscars was like, oh, well, nothing really happened that was as, or even remotely as exciting as that. And I think that's going to be next year's too. Another question I have is what do they do now about the actual jokes within the ceremony? Do they scale back on that? As long as they can give us more time for the categories. Like, I think the biggest mishap, the biggest botch last night was announcing those winners prior to the ceremony starting, giving them their due anyway, but not giving them their full due. Doing a pre-recorded segment with the winners where they're already on stage, they come out, they give like a 5-second speech, and then cutting to the audience in the live ballroom as they're watching this on a screen, give their actual reactions. So everything that happened with editing and sound and score on stage happened, but before the ceremony, and the reactions that we saw were reactions to watching all of this on a screen, right? So all of that being said, the show was still 3.5 hours. There was so much fluff in last night's show. So many dumb jokes, so many stupid segments. There were some funny segments, there were some funny jokes. All right, I will admit, I was giggling and laughing maybe even more than I anticipated. But then you have those moments, and you have, for me, and I have nothing against the songs. I thought Billie Eilish was incredible last night. But at the same time, you could cut a couple of those things out and give more time to the winners of Best Editing. Give more time to the winner of Best Score, or even the shorts categories. Just combine them and have all of the winners come out, but give them a chance to talk. It's all about the creators. It's all about the people that put all of these things together, and to not give them the time to celebrate. I felt like my video, those moments were an afterthought in my video, and that stinks. They shouldn't be an afterthought. That's not the way it should be. So give more focus to the things that deserve focus next year. Take out some of the dumbness, all right, and scale the show down. The show was so long last night. I was ready for it to be over until it wasn't over and it had only just begun. Also, can I apologize for some of my graphics during last night's video? There were like 2 or 3 that were completely out of place. I was so tired. Looking back, I saw a couple of them I messed up on, so still no excuse. It's my fault, but yeah, the graphics occasionally were like, nope, that's wrong, Austin. Overall, a fairly predictable night. Everything went according to plan, except for, obviously, the big moment of the night. But at the end of the day, I can say the show got people talking. Whether they intended on that happening for that reason or not, it got people talking. And this will go down as one of the most memorable Oscar nights of all time. No doubt about it, for all the wrong reasons or for all of the memes. So what's the best Will Smith meme from last night? My God. All right, guys, can't thank you enough for tuning in, for supporting last night's video, for supporting this video. Appreciate it big time. We got some great stuff this week, from Morbius to Everything Everywhere All the Time, and then a couple of really special videos at the end of the week. I'll see you soon.